YouTube, what is going on, guys? Day one, Nate here with the second Throne in Liberty video. Now, this is like the part two to the first video that we recorded on the TNL meetup. Now, they had a ton of questions. The Q&A was over 6 hours long, and I sat and I watched it. Luckily for me, somebody had already went through and had recapped it and put it on paper. It was basically exactly what I had put down. They brought up a ton of good talking points. And then there's a video that I want to get into. We're going to watch a short snippet of it and kind of talk about it because somebody brought up the Western version of Throne and Liberty. And there were some interesting responses that I think we kind of need to pay attention to as people who are going to play Throne and Liberty in the West. So let's jump into what they talked about in the Q&A, and then after that we will jump into basically that video and them talking about the West. So this is the main points from the Q&A. The fight against macros and cheaters continues. Several waves of ban have been passed, but not all cases can be easily and quickly detected. So in the first video that we watched, they kind of went over the fact that they're trying to ban cheaters, but they obviously can't ban them all, which I think isn't. I think that's a fair statement. I don't think that you can just ban every cheater, right? You're never going to catch everybody, especially because anyone who knows how, cheating company works, they're basically updating their systems. So yeah, one person might get banned, but then somebody comes, buys the new version, and then there's a new cheater. So it's kind of a relentless, endless cycle. But they are talking about making some changes to certain things that kind of veer people away of the thought of macroing. But it's kind of in development, and they didn't talk too much about it. The weapon mastery system will be reworked so that players do not spend a week of time leveling it up, which I think is fine, speeding the process up a little bit. The arena will appear before the release of the new region early August. Developers want to focus on small formats, for example, 3x3, which is 3 versus 3. There will be different modes in PvP seasons. So different types of PvP arenas. They want to focus on small scale because obviously there is a ton of large scale PvP already in the game. New weapon skills will appear, including more ability to deal AoE damage, which we already talked about in the first video, them kind of going over that skill tree. The new, I kind of compared to the tripod system, changing up how that works. Around the end of August, a raid for 12 people in Battlegrounds will appear. So the new raid, potentially, and Battlegrounds, people were kind of speculating that this was definitely on the horizon. So we'll kind of see where that goes. The game currently has a very lenient monetization system, and there are no plans to tighten it. So again, the monetization system is planning to stay the same. They are not planning to change it whatsoever. PvE events will be reworked, but there is no exact time frame. So I believe that they're going to go through and kind of rework a lot of how the systems work. I know that they're changing the dungeon difficulties and level of difficulties. So I think they're just wanting to full rework it at some point in time. It makes sense that they're going to do that. Nearly every game goes through and fully reworks it at some point in time when they start adding new content, and they kind of rework some of the end game systems. Outdated content starter dungeons will be reworked in the future. That was already talked about. Weapon balancing continues. They want to raise the time to kill a little bit to get away from the one-shot meta, which I've talked about this. I know it's not quite comparison, but I talked about this in Once Human. There is no PvP game that is fun with one-shot meta. It's not. It's not enjoyable. It's not fun. It is what it is. They want to get rid of it. There are no plans for any differences between global version and Korea, which we're going to get into. That's going to be where we're going next. So we're going to leave that for where we're going with the video. The developers are aware that a large association of players have negative impact on the politics and life of the server. Possible solutions to the situation are discussed. Basically talking about some of the servers are not in super good health. from things that started many months ago. They want to look at how they can potentially change that, but it's going to take time. Various elements will be improved as we receive player feedback. For example, inter-server guild battles are currently taking place in test mode. In the future, the system will be finalized and launched on an ongoing basis. So I would assume for the large-scale PvP, people similar to New World are wanting like test wars and practice wars and things like that to um, whether it's figure out who their best players are or test different strategies, whatever it may be, they're wanting to have that option. Costumes, paint jobs are constantly discussed. I would assume that they're talking about dyes. And those in charge are listening to the community. Several costumes will be available in the summer, which they kind of talk about here. So, this is where things get interesting. So, Canon was invited to the Throne and Liberty event, which he will kind of talk to you about, and he goes into that the Western population of the Throne and Liberty players are not going to be super happy with the current monetization system that they have in place. If you're not aware of how it works, basically you can just go in and you can just buy Lucent. So Lucent is the gold equivalent inside of Throne and Liberty. With that being said, there is no conversion rate. It's simply you go in, you buy, and it gets spawned in on your account. You're not buying it from other players, similar to like Lost Ark. It's basically as much as you buy as much as there's going to be in the game. And he goes in and he talks about it. So let's listen to what he has to say, and then we'll kind of zone in a little bit on it. We're gonna probably only watch the first few minutes. There's a lot of extra on the back end. I'll make sure to link the video below so you guys can kind of go and watch that. But I really want to hone in on the beginning of what the developers have to say when certain things are brought up.
Headquarters, and I had an opportunity to speak and ask questions to the people running Throne and Liberty. Not only did I ask them a couple of questions in regards to monetization in the West, as well as the version that we're getting in the West, but I was also sure to let them know that a lot of people in the West are already calling their game pay-to-win garbage simply because you can purchase Lucent, which is their auction house currency, with real money. Here's what happened.
Which was exactly what we talked about.
외국에서는 이게 루센트를 살 수 있다는 게 아예 페이투윈 현질하는 게임, 쓰레기 게임 이렇게 생각하는 사람들이 엄청 많아요. 저는 이 게임을 많이 해봤기 때문에 저는 솔직히 되게 재밌다고 생각을 하는데 외국에서도 잘 됐으면 좋겠는데 근데 그런 안 좋은 이미지가 좀 너무 많고 그리고 NC소프트도 히스토리도 그렇게 좋지 않다고 생각하는 사람들이 거의 다 그렇게 생각하고 있거든요, 외국에서. 그래서 외국 서버 나오면 이게 루센트를 살 수 있는 그 지금 현질하는 시스템이 똑같이 가는 건지 아니면 아마존이 그걸 조금 바꿀 수 있게끔 만들 건지
두 가지 질문이요. 좀 나눠서 설명드리면 그 저희는 글로벌 서비스를 하나의 같은 정책으로 해서 하는 것들을 지금 목표로 하고 있기 때문에
So this is where he basically is going through and saying that they have no plan to change the monetization system. The monetization system will stay the same as what they currently have in Korea. They do not want to operate them separately.
별도의 것들로 운영할 계획은 현재 가지고 있지 않습니다. 그리고 서비스 권역이 두 군데이기 때문에 또 아마존이랑도 저희가 협의를 해서 진행하는 부분들도 있고 하지만 일단 저희가 같이 협의하고 나가고 있는 거는 저희는 한국 서비스
basically talking about the one identity.
전체가 다 하나의 서비스 비슷한 결로 나가는 것들로 지금 같이 협의하고 가고 있는 부분이라고 설명하면 될 것 같고 그리고 뭐 과거의 올드 버전을 가지고 뭐 서비스를 하나요 이런 질문으로 제가 이해를 하면 될까요?
This is where he's basically going to confirm that what he was asking was, will we be on the exact same version that Korea is on when we get it in September, or will we get a version that is maybe 1 to 2 patches behind?
네, 그랬을 때
그 버전이 같이 가느냐 아니면 뒤따라가느냐 뭐 이렇게
네, 지금 이제 서비스 그 하기 시기가 한국 서비스보다 조금 뒤에 서비스를 하고 그리고 저희가 한국 서비스를 하면서 부족한 부분들을 개선한 부분들 중에서 일부 뭐 앞쪽의 경험이라든지 이런 부분들은 지금 그 에이지스 쪽에 나가는 버전에 먼저 적용을 하고 있어요. 근데 결국에는 양쪽 다 적용이 되는 내용들이고 쉽게 설명드려서 개선된 것들이 양쪽 다 반영돼서 개선될 거다라고 말씀드리면 될 것 같습니다. 그러니까 과거의 어떤 스냅샷을 저희가 가지고 서비스하는 계획은 아니에요.
일단 뭐 외국에서도 많이 싫어할 것 같아서
So he basically Canham goes into kind of talking about more into the pay to win system, basically talking about that people are excited about it, but they really don't want the pay to win system. He kind of like pushes back into it, asks if they're aware of it. They say that they're aware of it. They say that they plan to work with AGS to make improvements if needed. Somebody in the crowd basically says, you know, we don't see it as a big issue, which obviously they aren't going to see it as a big issue because they are in Korea where that is very, very normal. Pay to win and MMOs are very normal for them in Korea. And it's something that Western players are not super, super used to. He goes into a little bit more talking about how, you know, there's such a wide range of players for this game, and he's afraid that maybe players will be a little bit more niche because of there being so much pay to win. Canham also goes into talking about, well, the game isn't as pay to win as something like Lost Ark. And that was where my mind kind of changed a little bit on where this was going. Now, I haven't played a ton of Throne and Liberty. I've watched quite a bit of it, but obviously until you're in it and you're actually spending Lucent and, you know, kind of seeing the systems, you're not 1,000%, you know, in an understanding of how it works. So when he said that it's less pay to win than Lost Ark, I kind of thought to myself, well, I'm playing Lost Ark as a free to play player at the current moment, and I don't find it that bad. And especially earlier in the seminar, they talked about how they're going to do jumpstart servers, and we're going to be getting a lot of the upgrades that Korea has already gotten. So the systems are going to be more fleshed out. So you may not go through as many struggles as they did in Korea. And that kind of makes me think maybe it won't be all that bad. So that's where I'm going to stand on it. Where I'm going to stand on it is if it's less than Lost Ark, it's still going to be pay to win. They have no plan to reduce the monetization from what they have in Korea currently. And that's fine because that's the type of game that it is. But I don't think that this is a game that you write off because the game is pay to win. I think that the game is still going to be super exciting. I think that the content that they're coming out with and the changes that they've been making to the game are really, really solid. And I'm looking forward to testing it in the open beta and when it launches in September. We'll be streaming a ton of Throne and Liberty as it comes out and really diving into some of these systems that were talked about. And we'll kind of see for ourselves. I'm going to keep you guys updated as information continues to come out about Throne and Liberty's open beta and the launch in the West. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys all in the next one.